for a new operation. It's time to do a new thing. Now it's time to be part of a brand new move of God. Listen here, church. I urge us all to listen to the voice of God. Because I believe just like the disciples of old, God might be telling us to do a new thing. To get involved in a brand new operation. A brand new move. A brand new ministry.
We're back. When we started this journey a decade ago, we couldn't really imagine what TGS would become. What started as a conversation between two friends grew into one of the most dynamic communities in this country. Now, there's a lot more to do, but look at how far we've come. They'll tell stories of how TGS played host to the kings and queens of our era. Together, we reimagined what the private club experience should and could be. 3 clubs, 8 cities in total. We shifted the culture. We helped elect leaders and brought together the thought leaders of our time. Celebrated and comforted one another. Saw small business meet big and the tech meet the creative community. TGS has touched it all. So many relationships have formed through what we have built together. Companies started and expanded. Lifelong friends have been found, marriages, and now even kids. Now all of this hasn't come without difficulty. Every journey has some of those. But each time our community stayed together and emerged stronger. A couple of important updates. We have reacquired TGS to continue the work we started in the same spirit we started it in. We've learned a lot, but one thing we've always known is that this has been about us. So it's fitting that we're going to call this era All of Us, because that is what TGS is about. All of us. Now we have some new things coming. A revamped club experience, new menus and programs, an opportunity for members to invest in TGS, some club announcements, and some new initiatives to make sure that TGS stays safe and inclusive. We know we will be successful because when we've been together, we always have been. And frankly, right now, we need you more than ever. This chapter is personal. It's about all of us. Ryan and TK, co-founders of The Gathering Spot.
Look around you. Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. Look around at the square. I promise you right now, we did this. Doesn't matter what anybody says. They can say it's disrespectful. They can say it's this and that. Everybody's within the rules. Everybody's doing their thing. All we are is proud and passionate.
Everybody here in Atlanta and everybody online. We've got a lot of folks throughout the country. I promise to be efficient. Last time we were here for those that know, we were here for a little bit of time. We won't be here that long, right? But the goal tonight is, again, to really have a very intimate conversation about where we're focused as a business. Know that everything that we're talking about is about us. It's about community. That's been the thing the entire time. But let's jump in. From an agenda perspective, I want to frame really 3 parts of this conversation. 1, where we've been. 2, where we are. And 3, where we're going. Where we've been, y'all, that's actually probably the hardest part of this discussion because we've been a lot of places together. As you saw in that video, I mean, who could have imagined? From your favorite artist to the President of the United States, we've hosted everything here at TGS. Where we've been, now, if you go to, just from a press perspective, we've been covered everywhere, right? And if you think about just the way the business has expanded nationally, we've gone everywhere nationally and worked with everyone along the way. 8 cities in total, nearly 12,000 members throughout the country, 10,000 events. I'm being conservative there. We've hosted, I think, a little bit more than that and now almost 8 years here in business. Did I miss anything?
I think you covered most of it, big dog.
This. Yeah, I've tried. Okay, where we are. Again, moving kind of quickly through these sections. The best way I can describe this is we're kind of like a house, right? That's had a really good foundation that's been poured. And so if you go to the next slide, it kind of looks like this. We've built a lot, right? 8 years. Who knew that this business could get to where we are? What we have to accomplish, though, in this next stage of the business is that although we have a good foundation, we've got to build some new walls. We need a new roof. That old pipe over there in the corner, it needs to be tightened up a little bit. We've got some work to do, right, in terms of making sure that the next 8 years, and hopefully the next 80 years, we're thinking about this business from a generational aspect now, that this house that we're building together, though, needs to be built with real attention and care that, again, has never been lost upon us, but we're building a team right now that, on top of the team that we've had for years, our first member of our team is still here, the second member of our team still here, right, and we've added some amazing people along the way. But our goal in this season is to continue to add to that rich mix of folks that make TGS what it is each day so that the house is something that is a lot more sturdy. I'll be transparent with this community everywhere. While this business is a good business, we've got some work to do. And I'm going to talk to you about what our team is going to be doing, right? But again, I've got to lay plain and be very candid that this business needs y'all in a real way. You heard me say it before I walked up here. Look, we need you more than ever. And we do. TGS is nothing if it isn't the community, if it isn't us coming together, right? And so the conversation that we're going to have tonight, and again, where we're going, is about us figuring out all of the things that we need to continue to do as a company, plus some way that you're proud of. We're going. I'm got to give you some. Where are we going today?
Oh, where are we going? We're going to the mountaintop.
So, look, it's still here. Next slide. Where we're going. It's really 3 strategic pillars that our team and I have sat and talked about. 3 strategic pillars that we've talked about as an organization that I want to talk to the community about tonight. The first one is focused on our member experience. Our team is going to have a relentless focus on the member experience. Now, what does that mean? It starts with hospitality. It really is our team looking at our F&B program, food and beverage. It's looking at everything, every touch point from a hospitality perspective. The first voice that you heard tonight was of my pastor growing up, Reverend Marcus. And one thing that Reverend Marcus said every Sunday was that we're not a perfect church, but we're trying destination, right? But conversation with one another about what sort of hospitality experience can we drive that really helps you promote everything that you want to accomplish socially within the club and everything that you want to accomplish professionally. Go back in. Go back one for me. We're going to build some clubs. Yeah. Now, look, this is my favorite, and it's the... Now, I actually just saw a couple of folks on our real estate team, and he looked a little nervous, too. But
I think he's up for the challenge.
I think he's up for the challenge, too. Bye. And we're going to try something new. We're going to go to cities where we haven't yet found space, and we're going to build community. And our commitment is that we will go and look for spaces in all of those cities. Now, in the middle of a pandemic, that was an ambitious goal, and it became even more ambitious, honestly, as we started to look. The real estate market changed very quickly. Landlords that would talk to us at one point wouldn't talk to us when we were calling at that moment in time. We're talking about some of the hardest cities from a real estate perspective. And with TK and I reacquiring the business, our top priority, and which you'll again see from us in March of this year, is an announcement of at least one new club. And it will be in a connected city. So that's New York, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, or Charlotte. We're looking at all markets right now aggressively, trying to find the best real estate. Now, it's tough to find the right location for a gathering spot. There are a lot of considerations. It's looking at, one, do we have space to assemble like this? 2, do we have restaurant and bar space? And are we zoned to be able to have that restaurant and bar space? And then 3, can we have workspace? And how much of it do we need? Each club, if you've been around the country, is a little bit different, right? So this club was opened in 2016, DC a little bit later in 2021, and then LA last year, right? Each club has its own flavor to it. And we want to make sure that wherever we go next, that the club really represents the city, right, that we're in. We made a very important distinction from the beginning of this process. We don't really go anywhere, right? We try to join the communities that TGS is in, knowing that if we're going to do this thing right, we can't just show up and drop a gathering spot. We have to build relationships. Now, the good news is that in some of these cities, there are hundreds and hundreds of members, and thank y'all. This is mainly for the folks that are online. I know there are a couple folks from Connected Cities here tonight, but thank you for everybody online. We wouldn't be anywhere and being able to have this conversation if it were not for you. But we are firmly committed to being able to be in a position to announce a club. From there, it's construction and build out, and frankly, all the parts of this process that I don't enjoy. No offense to the real estate-oriented people in our community.
Don't worry, that's why I do the permitting.
He does do the permitting. See, he chops at all the things that I'm deficient in. I don't do the permitting.
Yin and yang.
But I will say this. The next question I normally get is, well, what Connected Cities? There's 5 of them. Well, look, we're committed to building clubs in all of them. Priority is, though, where we have the most amount of people. If you've been to a club or to an event in New York City, wow, New York City is, on fire.
Show up.
If you've been to Chicago, Chicago is on fire, right? We've got to figure out a location there, and I think we've got something sooner rather than later to talk about there. If you're looking in Houston, incredibly active, or Charlotte, incredibly, so we've got to figure this out across the country right now.
That's it. And all love to our people in Detroit. Super active as well. Big active in Detroit. We coming there as well. Detroit was actually one of the main points of inspiration for Connected Cities because we have not only investors that are from Detroit, but a lot of members. The Atlanta to Detroit connection. Deep.
Yeah, normally y'all show out. I guess nobody in here. Okay, there are a couple, yeah. Like normally the Detroit folks show up. Okay, point 2. And again, I'm going through this quickly so we can get to questions.
Yep.
Second focus, second pillar, right, of what does this next chapter of TGS look like? It's focused on technology. Our goal is to become one of the most
Third pillar.
What is that?
I said third pillar.
Second pillar.
No, you did.
I did
Focus
one.
on community and then expanding the clubs, and this is the third one, tech.
We're gonna focus on technology. It's been a long journey. I met this man in 2008.
Yeah, man.
We're still somehow
Stuck.
pray for us. Technology is going to be important. Another important question that I get, Ryan, I just don't like the app.
Boy.
I don't like it either. We're going to introduce a new app within the first quarter next year. And that app is going to respond to many of the things that we've been talking about for years. It's going to be about how we connect with one another. It's going to be about making sure that you understand what's happening in each one of the locations. It's going to be tailored to where you are and what you want to see, right? And it'll be integrated into the rest of the experience too. So you'll have a ton of partnerships that, again, I believe many members, small and large businesses. The second thing that we're doing, though, and I want to thank publicly Kobe Fuller. He's been a very important advisor as we go through this process, but we're going to leverage all of the new technology as it relates from an artificial intelligence perspective and bring that into the club experience. I have a quick demo that I'll show you in just a second, right? But we believe that the club of the future is going to better facilitate connections leveraging technology. If you know our history here, we actually had the app that we have now. It was hot back then in 2017. It was hot. But we didn't release it for a while because our goal at that point in the history of the club was to make sure that folks came here and did the old school thing and met one another. And it's one of the reasons why right now I can look out and I know many of the folks that are here personally,
right? We built a culture here that was really offline, knowing that by the time we introduced the app, that would really just be seen as a tool that we could be. Part of our vision from the very beginning was, what is it like for a member in Atlanta to be connected to a member in LA, to be connected to someone in Detroit, to someone in Houston, Charlotte, and beyond, right? We knew that like the club really at its highest and best use would be being connected and having relationships being formed everywhere. And so this is a small glimpse. We'll have a beta of this early next year, but this is the beta of the beta that you'll see in this demo in terms of how we're thinking about leveraging AI. I'm trying to be like you. All right, so this is the TGS network. Hey, I'm looking for someone or a recommendation for an accountant. We blurred out the names. These are actually real members of the club. This is a real beta. And as you continue to think about how or what resources that you need, right, we're building technology that'll facilitate these connections. And we've done a lot here with this already. It's, hey, I need 5 people for a demo for my product. Hey, I'm new to the city and I'm looking for 5 people that I want to connect to, right? So true to TGS, professional and social, the technology that we're going to be building and the data that's been collected now over 8 years is going to be leveraged in a way to make sure that the relationships that we need to form through TGS continue to move the needle for us personally. So again, expect this early next year, but our team is hard at work making sure that this demo, again, I want to thank Kobe for this demo, but more to come here. This is a really exciting part. Look, a lot of the folks in our industry, they're not thinking about connectivity in this way. So we're going to be first in this space in a way that I'm excited about. That was the only Steve Jobs I have in me. I was like, I'm telling you, I had a lifelong dream of being like, this is our tech, and like, here we go. Yeah.
You did it, Joe.
This is our tech. We did it. We got some more to come. All right, little sound here, but before we get to this last pillar, I want to watch a couple seconds of this video so that you get an understanding of how we're thinking about this next one.
This is kind of a new breed of private club where the business elite can socialize, they can work, they can network all outside of the public eye. And privacy comes at a price. The new Amman Club across the street here in Midtown costs $200,000 to join and another $15,000 a year in annual dues. Tessa Cipriani and Zizi's Club are both sort of focused on food and the restaurant experience. Then you have, as you mentioned, Zero Bond, which is favorite of Mayor Adams and Kim Kardashian. That's kind of more of a nightclub vibe. The big question here is whether all of these new clubs and all these new expensive memberships can survive if the economy turns south.
All right, with respect to all of the clubs that you just saw, plus some, look, I think that they're entirely wrong. Let me be honest. We're going in the opposite direction. We want TGS to become the most inclusive club in the country. That's not a new value for us as a community. If you know TGS, you know when we're talking about we all we got and we will be heard, this is what we're talking about, right? We have to have a place where no matter what it is that we're talking about, that TGS is a place for the people of the day talking about the things of the day. And that means all of us, right? You've long heard us say that this is going to be a place where, as black folks specifically, we are going to be celebrated in this context and not tolerated. I was having a conversation, though, a couple of weeks ago, and look, this conversation got fairly heated, if I'm being candid. But what we were discussing, right, was this idea that no matter how well any of us do individually, we have a responsibility at least this is our idea, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are doing everything that we can, right? Not just to come into spaces like this and be happy to see one another because most of us have figured out how to over-index, right, in our professional context, right? But we're a couple weeks removed from Thanksgiving. Statistically, if you're black in America, there was poverty at your table. The idea that we're going to build a place, or that this, again, if you look at the original writings that we were sharing with one another, that we're going to build a place that does not immediately tackle that challenge, knowing that there is a massive wealth gap in this country, that is not what the Gathering Spot is here to do. If there's a seat at our table that's available, what we're committing to in this next season is figuring out how we're going to intentionally fill that seat with someone that needs to be a part of the conversation. Now, look, I know many of you will say, well, Ryan, I'm a member of this club, and like, I pay to be a member. I don't want folks that aren't members to be able to be here. Respectfully, I hear you, right? But again, if you go back to the central idea that I'm trying to explore, if we're doing this right, it does not make sense that to have those in our community that absolutely should be participating in this conversation not be a part of it, and us not being intentional about figuring out some mechanism. Here you go. I'll give you one last analogy. I'm Diamond on Delta. I'm really proud of it. Shout out to Delta. There is nobody that is more specific about, and it is what it is. But if you look at the analogy of TGS operating like a commercial plane and not stand by on this flight, well, let's fly together and let's get there together. To the member experience, introducing new programs, new clubs, and really focusing on every touch point inside of all that we're doing here in our clubs and in the connected cities, and plus building physical locations in those cities. We're gonna build on top of that by leveraging new technology, making sure that you're able to facilitate better relationships with one another, because ultimately that's what TGS was created to do. And we're gonna do all of that being focused on being the most inclusive club in the country, knowing that while the industry is zigging, we've always zagged at TGS, and we're going to do this the way that we've always thought it should be done. All in all, I think when you add it up, it's going to be something that not only we're proud to participate in, but that other people, right, will be able to be proud of and see and engage with the stuff that is coming out of the gathering spot. I will never have enough opportunities. We will never have enough opportunities to say thank you. I don't take this lightly, y'all. We don't take this lightly. I'm actually shocked my kids are here. And it's the second event where my son is, I don't know if he would say mommy or daddy, but is it daddy? No.
All of the above.
Talking. I've got it. We do not take any part of your participation with TGS lightly. There's no part of what's been happening over the last year and a half or the last 10 years where the conversation between us was us, sincerely. We started this when we were 24 years old, y'all, and it was not a money-making enterprise. In fact, I called my parents, I was in law school at the time, called my parents and said, I want to be an entrepreneur, and it's going to be this place where people are going to gather, and I'm going to do that as an introvert, gathering people. And they were supportive of me, thankfully, right? But every time I have the opportunity to engage in any part of this, right, and I can speak on both of our behalf at this point.
Yes, sir.
This thing is special to us, right, because of everybody across the country that makes it a thing. We are back focused in a way that I don't know. I was on this stage, maybe 2 years ago, and I was talking about this idea of like first album energy. Like there's an urgency to your first project, right? That you just can't, like, it's relentless. And as time goes on, you're still passionate about it, but it's not, that first project is like, there's something to prove. We're back in our first project sort of energy. It's relentless. I'm talking to TK at times. I don't want to be talking to TK again.
That's a lie. You love talking about it.
I mean, it's back early. And
Who
it's back
calls who?
late.
Who calls who?
Because I need to talk to you.
Okay.
But anyway.
There we go. There we go.
But it's urgent for us. I heard something else recently, and they said, what's your say-do ratio? Knowing this idea that, like, folks say a lot of things and they don't do much of it. This presentation, I hope you feel, is short because while we're here to say a couple things, our team is focused on doing a lot more. A lot more. We're going to keep our say-do ratio in check, right? This isn't going to be one of those things where What about I heard? What about you said? We're in the like back in the lab
100%.
working on this in a way that I'm really, really proud of. And so while I'm here, I want to thank my team, our team.
Yes, sir.
So, Gathering Spot Bunch is a resilient group, very resilient group. And I mean that just looking at the last 4 years of this business. The Gathering Spot don't gather for years of a pandemic. And then there's been other rainy seasons. I can't see them all, and I definitely can't see them because folks are watching virtually. We appreciate y'all. We know that this isn't about us. It hasn't been for a very, very long time. It hasn't been since that early timeline when it was actually just us. Know that everything that we're talking about, it's a lot of great people that are working with us trying to make it so. Again, we're not a perfect club, but we're trying to be. And so in the effort of keeping the say-do ratio in check, we're going to pause here. Text your questions in. I'll be able to see folks online. We'll take some questions in the room. And again, our goal is to be as efficient as possible. But thank you sincerely we know you could be anywhere in the world. Everybody's got family. This time of the year is incredibly busy. Yes. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight, whether you're here in person or online. Know that we are going to be good stewards of all that this is. Reacquiring this business was, I think some folks think it was an automatic, right? Well, it wasn't. But it was also a lot of conversations between us of like, well, to do what?
Yes, sir.
Not that it had all been finished, right? But are we the right people at the right time to drive the things that we want to drive? After a lot of reflection, we think we are, right? And so we're going to work that way, knowing that, again, this community deserves it. So let's start with questions. We'll turn the lights up. And both here online, if you're online, please text into the number that's below at the bottom of the screen. If you're here in person, we'll address questions here. Now, before we jump in, we take a lot of pride in being absolutely as candid as we can be. If I can't answer it, I really can't answer it. If I can't answer it, I will right now. As you will see, this conversation for us and where we are focused from an energy perspective is forward. I'm happy to address something, if I can, that asks us to look at backward. But I will tell you, if I move quickly from backward to forward, just know that that's where I'm spending most of my time. It's where our team is spending most of our time. So I appreciate your question in advance. The last time we were here, folks were like, what about on page 7, section 2? If I could talk about it, I would talk about it, y'all. But this conversation for us, and again, why we are so excited about this time, is because what we're about to go do, right? Not because what we've done.
It's a conversation about us, not other people. If you're not in the community, we don't need to worry about it.
He leaves me to do all these the long form. He just comes with the. All right. There's a mic out there, and I have one up here, and let's get started.
Let's do it.
I'll answer a couple that are coming in on the iPad quickly. Do we have a 5-year plan? Yes, we have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. Part of how I was talking about operationalizing the business in a new way is that's what those discussions are about. Very specific objectives and measurements that our team and we are holding ourselves accountable to. But look, this business, respectfully, it didn't get here by happenstance. We were doing it was a little bit of strategy that happened at TK.
It was a 10-year plan 10 years ago, my brother.
Okay, look, but yes, immediate needs for members. Look, this club is only a club because of the engagement of the membership. And that doesn't necessarily always mean positive, right? That means just engagement. That means conversation, right? That's what we need more than anything. Now, if you know somebody that wants to be a member of what we're doing here, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, don't introduce us to them. We'd love to meet them. right? I mean, it's an important time for us as a business. As we move into this next season, independently, independence is a choice. It comes with positives and negatives, right? But there is an imperative that we have as a company, right, just looking at the base business, where, again, as plainly and as humbly as I can say it, your engagement means a ton right now. Okay, well, let's do it in person. I'll come back to these. Internet, hey.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all coming to us to explain everything that's going on. So I heard a lot of different things that are happening, but very few specifics. So, I'm curious on why let me go back. I've heard that we're considered fintech, and so
We're not.
We're not. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. So then the next thing is, what changes will we be seeing in Atlanta specifically, and like how things will be rolling out? There were things that were going to be happening in the past, things got put on hold, XYZ, and then the other thing is specifics on what do you mean? I'm excited to hear more about what you mean about bringing the community in. You gave one or two specific ideas, but like, I'm assuming that there's more than just allowing people to come in during, political season. Thank you.
I'll work backwards, right? So to the piece around engagement, it isn't we're becoming or moving in the direction of replicating like government services, right? We're not moving in the direction of being a community center. Our effort here, and part of it, we're thinking about this from a tech perspective too. Right now, right, the only way to really understand or benefit from what's happening at TGS is to be in this room, right? And so imagine a world where we are much more intentional about recapping the conversation that happened here for folks that were not a part of it so that they can understand. I'll give you a quick one, right? Atlanta, your question was about Atlanta. Atlanta is preparing for the World Cup. Everybody knows the World Cup is coming? There's a possibility that every World Cup match, as I understand it, that happens here is like a Super Bowl.
Economic equivalent.
The economic equivalent of a Super Bowl. Now, I am very glad that every Gathering Spot member knows that now, right? I'll be even more glad that if black folks in this city that have businesses that may or may not be a part of this formally for whatever reason, that piece of information, I don't believe should be hoarded inside of the walls of the Gathering Spot. And some folks will say, well, that's what I'm paying for, right? Our argument is that there are some things, y'all, that transcend, that are about us collectively as people, right? And it's okay, right? We're pioneering here. I played you that video on purpose. Everybody else is running absolutely in the opposite direction, right? It's exorbitant fees and even more absolutely not, don't know, you should not know what's happening here. We don't believe that's the highest and best use for the Gathering Spot, right? So leveraging technology, and there are a lot of plans in here. There was another demo I could have shown you that I didn't tonight in this space, but know that we're gonna have a conversation about it. This particular bucket around inclusion, when I wrote to the community last week, right, I said we're gonna be in a period of listening more than anything over these next several months. We're going to be showing the community how we're thinking about it, soliciting real feedback about what we're building, and then growing from there. So if you see it's something that's being light on the specifics, it's not because we don't have an idea about what we want it to become. We really do believe that everyone should have an opportunity, though, to participate in that process. Yeah. So I'll show you offline what we're building, though, and I want feedback, because I do think that it's a space that when we do it right, we've done something that we brought concepts, again, that folks didn't think could happen, right? You didn't think you could build a private club and do it in a way that is intentional in the way that we're talking about.
And I think it's important to stress here, like, this is not a new concept or principle or service. This is the same club that when we first opened and we didn't have enough money to make it to the end of the month, used to host the West Side Feature Fund on the first and third Friday of every month and let the community in. It's the same club that turned this room into a community organizer room during the George Floyd protests. And we're just using technology and putting a name to that that practice of making sure that the community is a proper stakeholder in what we're doing here in the Gathering Spot, because there's no one that we love and appreciate more than the Gathering Spot members who are paying their dues, because economically this place would not be viable. But we make no mistake that there's a much larger community of people who support us and support this mission and do all that they can, whether or not they have dues paying status. And we want to honor and respect that through these services that Ryan is mentioning.
I'll do a couple quick ones here. Did TGS separate from Greenwood? We are an independent company. We did reacquire the business, and so we are operating independent. The second part of this question was, will we continue to pay membership dues to Greenwood? No, you're paying membership dues to the Gathering Spot as an independent entity. What's your favorite thing about Connected Cities?
The people?
Look, I said it earlier, but like, it is very hard for me when we do an event in any connected city to not have just a moment where I'm like, we are gathering here. And I'm serious, like I know I've offended some venues because I'm like, look, I don't know what y'all are called, but a sincere thank you to everybody that has gone. Again, we're not we've gone. We're excited, though, about continuing the conversation. When we started TGS, so much of what was happening in the small business community was about start a business. And like, respectfully, like, we should start companies. But I think the season that we're in right now is about scaling those businesses. It's about figuring out how we get those businesses to even higher heights, right? So where we're focused is there. Start, great. We'll do start. But again, respectfully, there's a lot of people doing the like, so you need an LLC?
Yeah.
And with respect to them,
LLCs are dope.
LLCs are important. I had one for a long time. Mm-hmm. We got to get that LLC to scale.
Yep.
How do we connect? How do we leverage technology? How do we do things inside of the club so that LLC is growing? So that you look at your 24 revenue, it's a little different than your 23 revenue. You're talking about hiring somebody. Can you hire someone in the Gathering Spot community? Okay, so that's first side. Second side, there are a lot of people that are on the other side of this process that we're not doing a good enough job engaging, right? A lot of people, right? I'm fortunate, we're fortunate that some of those folks are very close to me. My dad's right here. And my dad, parents, have scaled companies now most of my life, right? Quick plug. Dad has a book called The Remarkable Power of Us that actually talks about this. You should buy the book. But anyway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We need that. He'll sign it.
I learned closing hours don't get fit. But anyway, we're going to be specific about making sure that where there is expertise inside of the community, that we bring that expertise intentionally to the other entrepreneurs in the community so that we're having not these high-level theoretical conversations, right, but really conversations that can move the needle. And they're here, right? This is not folks that we need to go find. They're right here. I can look at the front row and like different form of entrepreneurship, but one of the premier leaders in the education space is in our front row right now. For those that are interested in that, like, we're gonna be specific about connecting the dots. But we gotta scale our stuff, right? And there's a lot in there. Team, compliance, capital, more and more capital, different forms of capital. And when we're all said and done, Joey, who's here, who founder of Goody Nation, started a very important effort that talked about the mental well-being. It's called Founders Therapy. The mental well-being of founders, right? That's an important part of the mix. We're going to be having, it's returning here on January 11th. The State of Black Tech will be back here at TGS. Thank you, Joey. Thank you to everything Goody Nation's doing. It's going to be stuff like that. Go ahead and mark down January 11th and be here early, because if you know anything about that event,
packed out.
Some of the longest lines we've ever had. Oh, sorry, gotcha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miss Price, as in The Price is Right. I do want to make a statement that this is my first time being here, so if I ask a question and it's just like, oh, we already have that, then just know this is my first time. So I just want to mention the fact that I was 14 years old when I first started learning about business. And I was wondering, do you guys have anything for the children in particular, the high schoolers, 14 to 17 years old, teaching them either about business or to start or contracts or anything of that nature that you guys are like doing in the next 10 years?
Okay. It's a nice
In the
time window.
next, honestly, in the next, like, all the time, right? So one thing that we have to do a better job of, though, is getting more people in on the action. If you're here at TGS, you'll see kids in and out of the club on an ongoing basis. What we haven't done a good job of, though, is trying to broaden those programs so that more folks in the community can participate in them. Are we doing it, though? We are doing it, right? We're doing it both in our walls, but then we're doing it outside of our walls. I mean, I have a couple folks here. If you've been a part of one of those panels that have happened with students, raise your hand. I know a couple folks. So it's happening. There needs to be more hands that are raised next time I
I
ask
would
that
definitely
question.
love to join that conversation for sure.
No doubt. We appreciate you in advance.
Pass it to him. Green light.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim, CEO and co-founder of Curlmix. Ryan, you mentioned the opportunity to invest in the Gathering Spot in your presentation. I would love it if you could speak more on that. I assumed it was equity crowdfunding, but maybe it's not. Okay, thank you.
It'll be a private placement, and it'll be specific to the Gathering Spot community. So there's two important things that we established in this go forward. One, it was really important for our team to be able to participate in the business. So that's step one. Step two, though, as a community asset, the community, to the extent that they're interested, will have a mechanism to invest. Now, this is one of those I'm light on details places because there's a lawyer watching me right now telling me that I can't say some things that I want to say. Yeah. Just know that we are creating a framework that I'm excited about that will open the door for members to be able to engage. But more to come on that. I got that question online too. A lot more to come in this space.
Hi, I'll be short and sweet. I'm a longtime member.
Thank you.
I now head up an organization as the executive director of an organization called Shared Interest that literally empowers entrepreneurs in Southern Africa through the mechanism of social impact investments. So my question is this. I stayed a member, even though I've been in, sort of helmed various organizations, because it was two really sharp, smart brothers that had a vision that I believed in. And when I saw things started getting to get blurry, I stuck with it because I believed in you too. So my question is, if you could share just some lessons learned, because I think all entrepreneurs have journeys, and they often have to, get beat up along the way. So if you could share any lessons learned, that's one question. The second question is if you can comment on the financial health of how you're trying to scale. And then my third question is actually a challenge. I love that you're trying to move to New York. That's where my official headquarters is. But if you're considering an international expansion, please put South Africa at the top of the list.
Heard you on the last piece.
Okay. Lessons.
Finance piece. Finance.
So financially, where the business is at is that we lost over a quarter of the membership this summer, and a business of this magnitude, we don't have the margins that are able to sustain that. So our first step is we're trying to reclaim as many of the members that we lost as possible. I'm grateful for each and every member that stood up on behalf of me as an individual and stood up on behalf of the community, because they saw that it was not reflecting the ideals that they invested in by virtue of their paying their dues and donating their time and their talent to it. And because of that, the lesson I learned was that something I always knew was that the community was truly there for me, not just as TK, the founder of the Gathering Spot, but there was a multitude of people who genuinely just love TK Peterson, a guy from St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Ryan Wilson gave me a call this summer and he said, would you want to come back? And I told him, honestly, no. I'm moving back home, and I'm like, it was a good run. I did my time in the States, and I'll see you when you come and visit. And I told him that, and I hung up. Then he called back, and he said, no, seriously, think about it for a second. And then I do what I always do when I have important decisions to make. I called my grandmother, I called my mom, and they told me to think about it a little bit more, and that this was something that I said I wanted to last for generations to come, and that if I thought that me being there was important for that to happen, that I should return. And this was an opportunity to return. And the reason we're here is because I've always believed that the ultimate thing we can do is create an institution, and I hope that the Gathering Spot can become an institution for generations to come, to provide the blessing that it's done for me. It's transformed my life in ways that I can't even articulate. And I hope that the opportunity can be there for those who are members now and for those who may become members later. And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned.
How are you supposed to follow that? I'm about to say, what? I can't follow that. I mean, look. Okay. Look, this whole thing for us has been risk from the beginning, right? So every day, it's a risk that entrepreneurs know. It's all risky. Every decision. I'm supposed to be a lawyer. I learned though, and I've actually tried to talk about this as often as I can. The stuff that we're doing isn't random. Even the things that felt random, felt like they were not at the right, why is this happening the way that it's happening? I have genuinely learned that there's an order to this stuff, and there has been for a really long time. He was moving out of DC. I was trying to go to law school in Atlanta. I didn't get into law school in Atlanta. I still remember the names of the people that did let me in. But that very painful moment led us to still be in DC and to try and be meeting with one another, right? So it's not random, right? And there are moments in this past year where it's felt like this is just not a part of our script. We don't do this. And I mentioned our press, right? But we've never been in the press for no comment, right? To be here now, though, I understand why some things were the way that they were. And the things that we've been talking about and believe in, that those things are real. A lot of businesses that talk about community. Wow, we're here. And so, I guess I put in the same bucket as TK. I didn't learn, it's not a brand new thought to me, but feeling it, experiencing it is something that's affirming in a way that is it's powerful. Gives you a lot of energy when you're moving into this season. I feel a real responsibility to make sure that we do this right. Okay, no, it's not after TK. Connected Cities. I got a quick one. Do we have future plans to be part of Connected Cities? Look, Connected Cities. You will see more of us, a lot more of us. You might be sick of us by the time this is all over. Y'all are going to be involved all the way through this process,
He
right?
just wants to be Diamond again on Delta.
I do plan on trying to be Diamond again on Delta. But that won't be the reason why we're traveling. It's an ancillary benefit. But you will see a lot more of us. You'll see a lot more members of our team. I know that many of you have met some awesome folks that have done some really, really good work under some really, really difficult circumstances. Don Packer, Keena, who's here. I think Keena's here. Yep. Been burning up the skies. So you'll see all of us, right? I mean, it's going to be very important to us, and we will be doing it in a way, again, where you will be able to participate fully in the process, top to bottom. That's from, hey, do y'all like where this building is? To, hey, what do you think about these drawings? To, hey, how do you think we should think about all aspects of how the club will be built out? We didn't have that opportunity when we were doing, especially this club, and we're going to do the next ones with a different process. But yeah, prepared to be tired of us, a little sick of us. We'll be there often. We're going to release, and the community will know our travel schedules well out in advance, and we'll be very specific about when we'll be moving to each market, knowing that, again, we're based here in Atlanta, but we'll be everywhere. We'll take a couple more. My kids are here, and my daughter is very tired of me already because she is absolutely asleep. So we'll take a couple. She's snoring. Yeah, wow, okay.
So the AI app that you had, very interesting. Two questions real quick. One, if we have a firm, how do we go about entering our firm or business information into that app so it could be searched on just like how you showed it? And then also the second one is when you guys actually release it and everything, is it going to be like high-level training or just how to go about search or to use it to the best of our advantage and everything?
Yes and yes. If you don't want to be a part of it, that's going to be an option, but our hope is that most folks do want to be a part of it because that's how we're going to be able to share information. So you saw one of the kind of first cuts of how we're thinking about this around connection, but imagine the knowledge base that we can continue to create at TGS as members are talking about the things that they're subject matter experts in, and the community being able to mine that data as well, right? So there's a lot to come in that space, but yeah, we'll be talking about how to formally engage with it, but there's a big vision for what it can do at scale. The technology is moving at a really incredible pace. And again, we've got some awesome advisors around how we're thinking about integration here, along with the new app that's coming. We'll do a couple more in here. I think I've got most. Well, a quick one about DC. Any teaser plans about DC? You want to take DC?
What's the question? Any what?
Teaser plans about DC.
Oh. Any teaser plans? We got a couple of things. For those who haven't visited the club recently, we have a new chef leading the culinary scene in DC, Chef Arthur. And nothing but rave reviews from the people who have tried his food thus far. We encourage you, if you're in the DC market or traveling anytime soon, to go out there and try that. And towards what Ryan has been saying, the relentless focus to improving the membership experience and listening, that's not stopping anywhere, and particularly focused in the DC market, led by our new COO and the team with Chef Arthur and the other people there. We're going to make sure that the membership experience, the brick and mortar of what we're doing day to day matches what you expect from a gathering spot experience when you step in there.
Yeah, it's blocking and tackling in DC and some amazing programs, right? We're heading into an election year. We've got a club in DC. Yeah. We've got to engage specifically.
Mr. Stewart.
All right, so I don't have a question, but I do have a charge to the community. These guys went out, their families have invested in us in a way that we cannot repay. But the way we can repay people like Ryan and TK, I heard that 25% number and I had this question in my mind before you said it. I'm going to make a commitment. When I first came on to this, in this community, these guys gave me a membership. They didn't ask me to pay anything because I said, I will go get members. A lot of people that are here came because I said, I will go get members. And then I stopped because everybody came. And so now I am recommitted to get those 25% back in the room. And so I ask each of you in the connected cities and in Atlanta, DC, LA, to do the exact same thing, which is to go back and say, there's a reason why we need you back at TGS. Not only, they can't make this happen without membership, people who are paying, right? And so I'm just asking, and I'm going to commit myself, but I'm asking you guys to commit to do that thing for these gentlemen, right? They have poured too much of their heart and soul into these communities all across the country. And in order for them to do that, we can't have them begging us, right, to do more, to do less than what they've committed to do. And so for this to be the thriving community we want it to be, I'm asking everyone to do that for them. I asked him the question of an immediate need, and he kind of punted on the immediate need. The immediate need is we need new people, And we need to get the people who used to be here, right? And so I'm asking that, and I'll shut up now, but I appreciate you for all you do. And lastly, I will say thank you for your ambition and the audacity to try to connect, right? We know that it didn't work out. We ain't gotta, I'll say it because you can't say it fully. It didn't work out the way we thought it was, but it was the right thing for the right reason, right? To go and say, look, we want to put powerful black capital together to grow the community. And sometimes that doesn't work. But the next time it happens, you'll have the empowerment and the community behind you to try it again and to do it in a bigger and better way. And so I'm proud of you guys for making that. It's not a failure, right? It's just a challenge to do it better and with different people. So with that, I'm gonna shut up. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Larry. All right. We're not going anywhere, y'all.
Yeah.
There are a couple of questions here that we're planning to formally respond to. A couple more about technology and using Square. Good news that's coming on the tech front in the restaurant too, in terms of automation. So yes, there's a short answer to that question. A couple questions around what we were talking about around how the club's inclusive approach. I'll spend a lot of time in this space, really, again, listening, but then also speaking about how we're thinking about solving the challenge there. So more to come on that front. And then the community board. First, if you've been on a community board, and for those of you that don't know what the community board is, those are members that have decided on their free time, right, to organize and help to lead with us what this experience is going to be. One, thank you. And two, absolutely we're planning on continuing to do more with the community boards. That was another, like Connected Cities, it was another like, is there a way to do this, right? And we're learning a lot, I think, together in that process. But I'm excited about where it's headed, right? Because there's a president and vice president, and there's leadership from the membership in every single city that's able to directly engage with our team, right? That feedback loop is an important one. We try to create other ones, right? But that one is an important one that we're going to continue to hone in on how to make it an even better experience for the folks that are on the board, and so that the membership knows how to connect with those people too. But a little bit more to come. I know we could be here all night. I promise. Now, we would stand here. Last time I was here, I said, we're not afraid to stand on the X. Well, like we put the X on the stage just to make sure, like, we'll stand here all night long and as many times as we can because we appreciate this opportunity. I also appreciate, though, that folks have things to do and places to be. So we'll conclude here for this session, but we're going to be everywhere. You'll see some communication about, if you have more time, opportunities to talk to us and the rest of our team around these verticals. We'll have very specific questions in some of these sessions that we're asking for feedback on, and I appreciate you in advance. Seriously, this gathering spot thing, who knew? Wow. We've got a lot to go. We're back in this thing in a way that, again, is to be a good steward of y'all's engagement with the club. So thank you for everyone here. Thank you everybody that's watching online. You will see us very, very soon. We're not going anywhere for folks that are here. And again, we'll follow up on the specific questions, but we'll see y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, my fault. We have some food on the other side. It's complimentary. You come grab a quick bite if you're interested. A little bit, just a little taste of something if you wanted it. Bar's open too.